In this video, I share some tips and tricks on how to meet AEW and WWE wrestlers or superstars, depending on which way you would want to look at it. What is good, guys? Back here with another YouTube video, and in case you cannot tell by the title below, this video will be a video where I share some tips and tricks on how to meet AEW wrestlers, WWE superstars, wrestlers on the independent scene currently, and whatnot. And I figured from February of 2008 up until March of 2020, legit met a bunch of wrestlers, and the last wrestler I met, the world caught fire a couple of days after, and whatnot. But yeah, I figured I've had roughly 12 years of experience kind of deal, might as well pass on some of that knowledge to somebody watching kind of deal. If I left something off of this list that you think should be on it, let me know what they are down in the comments below. While you are down there, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to, but it would mean a lot to myself if you did. And when it comes to meeting wrestlers, I think of a couple of ways you could do it. First one is pay attention to the local for you independent scene, or the independent scene in and around where you live, whether it's the province, the state kind of deal, and whatnot, because usually when it comes to those independent wrestling events, I don't want to say they're cheap, but they're reasonable, again, depending on the promotion, kind of deal and whatnot. Like, I think the most I personally paid for an independent wrestling event was, I think, 25 bucks, and that show had Carlito, Bobby Lashley, and Davey Boy Smith Jr., and that was like a decade ago, give or take. That $25 ticket range included, like, that was the front row VIP kind of deal, where you, one, got front row, two, got into the venue early, where you can meet Carlito, Bobby Lashley, and Davey Boy Smith Jr. At that time, I think he was Harry Smith going by, and I met those three wrestlers for, depending on which way you would want to look at it, free or $25 a total, plus I got to go see a wrestling event kind of deal. And I know that where you live might be different when it comes to the independent scene than where I live kind of deal. Living in Southern Ontario, that is one perk, is having a good enough independent wrestling scene and whatnot. And whether they are having their first match or their former WWE champions, wrestling legends kind of deal, going to an independent wrestling event is one way of meeting wrestlers. Another way to meet wrestlers is doing the Axxess Comic-Con, WrestleCon kind of deal. For those who don't know, Axxess and WrestleCon are, or at least Axxess is usually the big four pay-per-view, like the Rumbles, the Manias, the SummerSlams, sometimes Survivor Series kind of deal, but usually those ones WWE runs in Axxess kind of deal. WrestleCon is, I believe, just during WrestleMania weekend, and for those who, for whatever reason, have never heard of either one, it's similar to what a Comic-Con is kind of deal. I can't speak too much about WrestleCon because I've never been, and I've been to one session of proper Axxess, quote unquote, and one kinda Axxess before it became Axxess kind of deal and whatnot. And for when I met Rey Mysterio SummerSlam 2019 weekend, it was a part of the Axxess meet and greet kind of deal. Paid, I think it was $125 to meet him, Dana Brooke, Mia Yim, War Machine, Viking Raiders, and Mustafa Ali. That is a good deal in my books kind of deal. And you could, depending on who you are, might be able to meet more people kind of deal. I probably could have met more people and whatnot, but I figured I met like 6 people for $125. That's a good deal in my books back then, and you could have paid that weekend at least $500 and you got a equivalent to a fast pass kind of deal and whatnot and X, Y, and Z to meet even more wrestlers. And that is assuming that you are going to a WrestleMania, going to Big Four if they still do Axxess for non-manias and whatnot, and all of that stuff. When it comes to WrestleCon, it is the wrestling version of Comic Con by all accounts. You pay X amount to get in, plus you pay an additional X amount to meet wrestlers kind of deal. Depending on who they are, they might charge more than somebody else kind of deal and whatnot. But yeah, when it comes to probably have to travel on some level to do that, so that is probably one of the more expensive ways to do it. Speaking of Axxess, pretty two controversial ones is hotel access, airport access. This one, I've never done the airport access. I highly doubt I personally ever will, but I've done the hotel access twice over and whatnot during Survivor Series 2016 weekend and during SummerSlam 2019 weekend. 19, I don't want to say it was by accident, but it was a hot wire deal. Survivor Series did it on purpose, so to speak, and whatnot. And I know a lot of people don't either want to do it or don't agree with doing it because the airport, the hotel should be where wrestlers have their quote-unquote off time kind of deal, but that is just another way to meet wrestlers. Another way to meet wrestlers is doing the, another expensive way is the WWE VIP experience. If there is a WWE event, like a live event, house show, whatever you would want to call it, happening and you're going to it, if you want to pay, I think Canadian is at around $700, you get front row, or maybe not front row, but like ringside seats, a chair, X, Y, and Z when it comes to merch and whatnot, and you're able to meet like 3 or 4 wrestlers kind of deal. And if you're able to afford that, do it kind of deal. I've seen a couple of people doing it and they have good things to talk about, but then again they're dropping a shiny loony a couple of times over, so I hope that it's a good time just for that and whatnot. So yeah, a couple of $100 to meet 2 or 3 wrestlers. You don't know for sure who they are going to be until they walk through the door. That is another, granted, expensive way, but a way to meet wrestlers. And this one kind of involves the last one. If you're going to a wrestling show, no matter what kind of the level that is on, independents, kind of the quote-unquote bigger indies, and whatnot, AEW, WWE kind of deal, and if you have ringside or ramp seats, you are able, or at least more able, to meet wrestlers, get a quick selfie with them while they're walking by. I was able to do that with Johnny Gargano back in, I think it was 2017, for an NXT house show, Ember Moon as well and whatnot, and probably quite a few people I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But again, this one, especially with WWE, I don't know for sure about AEW off the top of my head, but it can get pretty expensive, like $250 for at least the Montreal SmackDown that I seen and whatnot. But either way, getting a quick selfie by sitting front row or on the ramp or on the floor and you're able to run up to the barricade, that is another way to meet wrestlers. And the last one I will probably be talking about in this video is paying, as weird as it might sound, pay attention to the wrestlers' social media accounts. Again, doesn't matter what level. It could be your local independent wrestler, or it could be the biggest name to you kind of deal, anywhere in between and whatnot. Pay attention to their social media, because especially when it comes to independent wrestlers and to a certain extent AEW, they will promote where they're going to be, whether it's a wrestling event, a signing kind of deal. They're going to promote it. They would want you to be there, whether they want to meet you or you as in fans, or they want money, whatever the case. Whether they would want to meet you or they would want your money I don't want to say doesn't matter, but they would want you to come for either reason or a different reason and whatnot. And like I said, I'm not saying that AEW or WWE people don't do it. It's just I see more people outside of those two companies promote what wrestling shows they're going to be at. And if you go to an indie show, more likely than not, they're going to be doing some form of a signing, usually during intermission after the show, just again based off my experience. And before I forget, I have one additional tip to meet wrestlers. If or when you do it, no matter what way, hopefully legally, you're doing it, try and be as nice as possible to them, kind of deal. I get that we're all human, we don't have the best days every single day, but they're humans who just so happen to wrestle and just so happen to travel quite a bit, again, primarily WWE, AEW kind of people, and even the guys on the indies spend a couple of hours in the car and whatnot, traveling to point A to point B kind of deal. Try and be as nice or at least as friendly as possible towards them and whatnot. But either way, those are some tips and tricks that I have. Again, if I left any off of this video, let me know what they are down in the comments below. While you are down there, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. You don't have to, obviously, if you don't want to, but it would mean a lot to myself if you did. More importantly, hope you guys are doing okay mentally, emotionally, and physically.
The world that we tend to make up is nothing but a fantasy until you wake up. I feel like I'm just lying to myself, yeah. Cause I just crossed the line like I'm playing offside. I do it how I want and I'ma do it till I die. Feel like I'm just lying to myself, but it's